I was recently introduced to the topic of a societal decline in conscientiousness, and I felt I had a lot to say on the topic, or rather, a lot of things to ponder about it. For me, I'm always shifting between being conscientious and being lazy. On one end, whenever I want to do something or grow a new skill, I find I'm often at least a little bit better than my peers at sticking to a goal and accomplishing it. When I say I'm going to do something, or when I make a commitment to something, I always do my best to follow through. Whether that's showing up somewhere at a certain time, performing a service for somebody, or maintaining a relationship, or even setting a goal for myself, I almost always follow through with those promises. That is, if it's something I actually find value in. Because if I'm being truthful with myself, I'm also not the most hardworking person at all, and I don't view myself that way. Yes, I write every day. Yes, I come out with a YouTube video at least once a month on a consistent basis. If someone in my personal life asks me to do something for them, I'll always do my best to help them out with no questions asked. But when it comes to things like work and having a job, when it comes to situations or tasks which I see no long-term value in, I tend to give it less than my full effort. And for the most part, that seems to be sufficient for the jobs that I do. After all, when I give my best effort towards something like a job, I often get burnt out and end up just as unemployed as I do when I only give a fraction of my effort. But one thing that always gives me a good amount of energy in the day is getting a lot of good sleep in the day. And that's why I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Manta Sleep. Guys, I gotta say, when I was approached by Manta Sleep for this, I was a bit skeptical at first. I thought that sleep masks weren't really all that useful, and waking up tired was just a thing that's meant to happen as you grow older. When I say that this sleep mask worked instantly for me, and I became a fan overnight, I quite literally mean it. This is one of those products that simply works, and it works well. And they're willing to help you get better sleep with the code on screen to get 10% off. This sleep mask is an investment, not just in your own comfort, but also in your quality of life while you're awake. You won't know just how tired you were until you wake up feeling refreshed. Head on over to the link in the description and use my discount code to get 10% off at checkout. Anyways, back to the rest of the video. When it comes to jobs, I've had plenty of office jobs, which basically amount to sorting data, creating an Excel sheet to sort things for me, and sitting in boring meetings with people who can't figure out how to sort data until I come to tell them how I'd sort the data. By the way, I do data analytics, and most companies don't really know what to do with a data analyst. You kind of just don't do much, and even if you suggest projects, if you're a temp worker, they don't care. I'm usually the type of person who gets his work done early whenever I'm in the office. I'll typically try to find the most efficient way of doing a certain task that I've been given, and I'll do it in such a way that it requires minimal effort while still getting it done fast and accurately. Whenever I've taken a new job, most of my managers often tell me how this job is going to be a difficult one and I'm going to have a pile of work to sort through and accomplish. They expect it might take me a month or two to finish the backlog that's been piling up on them, only for me to get it done within about a week or two. And for me, I don't feel like I'm working very hard at those jobs. In fact, I don't feel like I'm really even trying very much at all. I'm just good at organizing things and using the tools that I have at my disposal. You wouldn't believe how many people in an office environment can't figure out how to use a VLOOKUP or an if statement in Excel. It's a staggering amount of people who are just sitting at their desk chairs, manually typing away at everything on their list and copy pasting and ruining their own Excel sheets by misaligning the things that they were copying down. And then they have to spend the next 30 minutes finding that error and correcting it. With the jobs I've had, I never feel like any of my efforts are rewarded, and I often feel like there's never any future presented to me. Most of the jobs I've had have been temp to hire at companies who are in the process of being acquired by bigger companies. In other words, they never planned to hire me in the first place. In fact, they're going to be getting rid of some permanent employees by the time I'm gone. It's the same story no matter what company I've worked for. They tend to dangle the idea of getting hired as a permanent employee to me as though it's somehow a benefit. I'm doing the same work as everyone else, sometimes even more than my coworkers, and yet I'm stuck in this limbo of temporary work for companies who have a near complete freeze on hiring. So I kinda just take it easy now. I focus on the things which return my efforts. I save my energy and commit it towards the things which I know are more important to me. My relationships, my writing, even this YouTube channel. My managers always keep me for the full duration of my contracts and even extend those contracts out as long as they can afford to, and yet they won't hire me. And mind you, I'm not really trying too hard to get hired at some of these places. It's honestly just that I get work done super quick and I would like to have consistent income. But if the work is done and I'm constantly exceeding expectations and I'm always saying yes to whatever new work my manager is able to give me, then am I conscientious? I don't feel like I am because the job is easy. So am I conscientious because I write a book and run a channel on top of that? Maybe. We could consider it conscientiousness, or we could consider it just me using my energy efficiently. Here's what I mean. Some of you might not know this, even though they are in the description of every video, but I pay my editors to make these videos for me. All I really do is write a script on a topic that I find interesting, voice over it, edit the audio down, and then pay somebody else to edit the visuals for me. That's me using my energy where it's most easily spent. It frees up a lot of time for me to pursue my hobbies and continue writing my book while still keeping up with a manageable amount of content on this channel. Am I conscientious? Or am I lazy in that situation? Depending on who you ask and what they personally value, their answer is going to be different. For some people, I'm lazy because I've not filled every hour of my day doing something productive or working on every aspect of things I create to a point of obsessive perfectionism. For other people, I'm simply working smarter and not harder. For me personally, I think I do a good enough amount of work, but I also recognize that I could do more. I could put in more efforts for some of the things in my life, but I also know that I can get burnt out doing any one single thing too much. I have a habit of writing every single day, and I'm currently on an unbroken streak of writing. Between YouTube scripts and book chapters, I've written over 400,000 words this year alone, and as of voicing this script, I've written about 180 days straight. By the time this video comes out, I plan for it to be somewhere within the 190 to 200 range. Am I conscientious? What if I told you that regardless of whatever job I have, I often have an abundance of time to write every day? Yes, for the most part, my experience with work is that I tend to run out of it. So I often open up a Word document while on the clock to write something like a script for YouTube or a chapter for one of my novels. There's even times where I could potentially find more work to take off of my coworkers' plates, but sometimes I just prefer to get my work done and then use whatever free time I have to write however much I want. Does that make me conscientious, or does that make me lazy? Perhaps it's better than browsing the internet on my phone, but it's not like I don't do that from time to time as well. Whenever I'm between jobs, I always keep a certain routine, but it's not a very strict routine. I make sure to keep my writing streak going. I try to get a video done once or twice a month, and I try to read and critique whoever's paid me more than $10 for YouTube memberships. Join those now if you want my opinion on your stuff, by the way. I cook for myself, I clean and maintain my home every week or two, I try my best to read consistently, work out consistently, and make time for friends and family. But at the end of it all, I don't feel conscientious. I don't feel like the stuff I do is particularly difficult or that I'm a hard worker. After all, I know all of the times that I fail to measure up to my goals. I know all of the days when I want to get something productive done, and I'm constantly finding myself distracted by video games and social media. I know I skip some days of working out and I procrastinate cleaning every now and then. I have a lot of things which I neglect or take shortcuts on simply because I don't have the energy or discipline to do them. And I say all of this stuff to reach out and ask, do you feel the same way? Do you feel like when you compile all of your efforts for the day that it ends up making you look conscientious, all the while not feeling like you're working very hard at all? Or you could work harder? Or maybe you're the opposite. You feel like everything is a struggle, like every day is too short and you've not got enough time nor energy to accomplish the things you want to do. I would be curious to know your perspective on this topic because I have a theory about why this statistic seems to have declined over the years. Back in the day, time management was incredibly important. For example, if a farmer did not till the fields, clear the land, sow seeds, and harvest within a certain window of time, they would probably starve to death alongside the rest of their village. Daylight savings is a vestigial practice in our society which originates from that exact concept of time management. In America, we have a summer break precisely because it was assumed that children would need to help their parents work on the farm for harvesting and planting seasons. People back in the day were conscientious out of necessity, because if you did not manage your time correctly, then your opportunities would pass by, and you would pay a very severe cost for such a thing. And now we live in an age where almost everything is at our fingertips. Not only do we pay for other people to cook for us, we also pay them to deliver that food right to our doorsteps. We prefer remote jobs, which provide us an additional hour or two of leisure time as we save on our commute. We have almost everything delivered to our doorstep within a week through something like Amazon. If we need entertainment, then the internet can provide us with any type or flavor of entertainment we might want, or basically free. They say nothing worthwhile is easy to get, but I would argue that much of the things we value in our life are conveniently delivered to us. However, these things are not mutually exclusive. Perhaps we have whatever material good we want at our fingertips when we want it, but material goods have never truly been worthwhile. Perhaps we can make money from our homes, skipping commutes and finding free time to do other things once our work is done. But the value of a job is almost always boiled down to something financial. Perhaps there are some who find fulfillment through work, but many people only have a job insofar as it keeps their lights on and their bellies full. No, the things which are always of value are the things which we determine to have value, the things which we have struggled to acquire, no matter what it is. That struggle provides meaning to the meaningless. I'm far more proud of this channel and its current success precisely because I have tried and failed several times to make a successful YouTube channel. I'm proud of the book I'm writing because of how many times I have failed to make a good book. I'm proud of exercising on a consistent basis, of the wrestling championships I've won in high school, and of the food I've cooked because they were all difficult to do. And at the end of the day, even though I have moments of conscientiousness, I don't feel as though I am a conscientious person. I don't feel hardworking. I don't feel committed. I feel like I'm the opposite. I feel like I take too many breaks. I feel like I don't do enough. I'm not proud of the job I do, for instance, because the jobs I do have never rewarded me. I have never felt as though anything in my work life has ever been fulfilling simply because whatever effort I put into it is never returned or recognized. I get paid the same amount regardless. I feel as though the jobs I'm given are far beneath my competence level, and managers have even told me as much. The tasks presented to me are too simple, too straightforward, and too easily accomplished, and yet I can't get more difficult tasks. I can't progress my career. I can't maintain a single job at any given point. I can't even get hired as a permanent worker. The people in charge of me fail to present me with the growth and opportunity I feel I deserve to have. I'm not given responsibility because my stay is and always will be temporary to them. I'm not given more challenging things to do because that is not what is expected of me. I was already meant to be challenged by the things they gave me. And regardless of how easy I found those tasks to be, those are the only tasks which will be given to me at the end of the day. I think the reason people no longer feel as conscientious as they did in the past is something most people aren't recognizing for themselves. We point to our smartphones, to Amazon, to all of the overstimulating distractions and the ease of access which we have to all of those things. And yet we never point to the fact that conscientiousness is a personality trait born out of necessity. If we are never challenged in our daily lives, then we never develop that side of ourselves. If the things we desire are readily available and easily accessed, then conscientiousness is not conscientiousness, it's greed. If we are not content with having everything we want, then wanting more is the only thing we can do. And if all we ever do is want more and more, then we are consumed by greed instead. When do we get to be happy with ourselves? When do we get to feel satisfied with our lives? Does conscientiousness lead to good outcomes because a hardworking person can achieve more through sheer force of will? Or do we become conscientious once we realize there is something of value to chase after and that it is not only achievable, but within our grasp? Much like a cat chasing a laser pointer, we can run around and chase something until we're out of breath, but at the end of the day, if we never catch the laser that we're chasing, we stop chasing it at some point. It is my belief that conscientiousness is a personality trait which only appears when people have something in front of them that they can work towards. When we know our efforts won't be wasted, that's when most people will give their best efforts for something. If we know that working hard at our job every day guarantees us a promotion and higher pay, maybe financial stability, a roof over our heads, and whatever else, then of course we're going to be more conscientious as a society. But if the work we do is constantly showing us that nepotism wins, that we're never going to get hired, that our wages will only ever be enough to survive and get by, or that the people who make the most money are the laziest of us all, then of course we're not going to work hard at anything. What is the point of mastering a game when the only way to win it is by cheating? Perhaps there are an exceptional few people who are capable of persisting even under those conditions, doing the impossible despite having no evidence that their effort will ever be rewarded. The ones who believe they can be champions in things like MMA or boxing. The ones who can capture gold medals at the Olympics. The ones who can create marvels of innovation the world has never seen before. But those people can also fail. They can become broken. Someone who has chased that dream and come short. They can get a silver medal or no medal at all. They can spiral into darkness. They can let themselves go, knowing they will never achieve the things that they always dreamed of achieving. And so, a conscientious person becomes a lazy person once they consider their dream to be impossible. Perhaps that is why many of us have to delude ourselves, and why so many successful artists and writers have deluded themselves to the point of near insanity. It was that exact same delusion to believe in something impossible which kept them going. It kept them trying and chipping away at something they would have otherwise never have been able to achieve. And before that sentiment gets out of my control, I don't think we should romanticize such a thing. Yes, it is compelling to see someone beat the odds. It is compelling to watch a character chase after something which seems impossible and prove everyone wrong. It is important to have the ability to do something for the sake of doing it and seeing how far you can go. But it's also dangerous. We might sharpen ourselves every day, but if you sharpen a blade enough, eventually all you'll have left is the hilt. You can overtrain, you can burn out, you can lose yourself in your own delusions. Refusing to live in reality for the sake of a dream inevitably becomes true insanity. It can prevent us from knowing the truth of our situation. It can blind us to our true path in life. It can distract us from the things which might actually fulfill us. I don't feel like a conscientious person. I do difficult things, but they are all in service to that which I value. They are all things which I ultimately enjoy doing and becoming in the end. They are all things which I can see as achievable. But I know my experience is not everyone's experience. I know there are some out there who cannot even muster an ounce of effort for themselves. People who live in the squalor of their own excuses and excess, who chase nothing, believe in nothing, and therefore are nothing. People who avoid confrontation, both external and within. People who don't keep their promises. People who are handed everything they could ever want and yet never find fulfillment, where their minimal effort is enough, and so they do not work to improve themselves. Their half-assed efforts are sufficient, and so what is the purpose of trying any harder than necessary? After all, not everyone aspires to achieve the impossible. Some only aspire to be comfortable. Is that wrong? Is that unfulfilling? It is often a professional sports player who will find themselves a prisoner of their own boredom during retirement. A conscientious person who has dedicated their entire life towards a single game, who has worked countless hours to achieve something few will ever do. It has become their entire being, and once they grow too old to do it, they are no longer conscientious. They have nothing to chase, nothing to strive for. The things they wanted to accomplish were accomplished, and even if they weren't, then it's impossible for them to do anything more about it. Some of these players will find a new purpose, forming businesses, becoming broadcasters, focusing on their families. But not everyone. Some of them will fall to their own excess. Some spend their money and live a lavish lifestyle until that lifestyle catches up with them and the money runs out. When we are not multifaceted, when we only have one thing which gives us purpose, when we are lost and when we can no longer push towards that purpose, suddenly we lack discipline. We neglect the things we've always neglected. All of this repetition and pondering to make it explicitly clear. I don't think the downward trend of conscientiousness is the cause of problems in society. It is not the root of our issues. It is not something we should focus on and worry about. These things were created to describe the workforce, but they don't actually help us determine what an issue is. It just helps people who are a part of companies hire other people based on these arbitrary metrics we give them. It is the things which are making us less conscientious which we should worry about. Our lack of purpose and meaning in our lives, our lack of incentives at our workplaces, the dismal state of our future, not just our own futures, but the future of those around us. We are sedated by people far more lazy than ourselves, far less worthy of the things they've achieved, people who are rewarded for their loyalty and their connections more than their competency and conscientiousness. A decline in conscientious personality types is the result of a decline in our efforts being worthwhile. It is the symptom of our dreams being made impossible right before our very eyes, where we must either accept a grim reality where we cannot achieve the things we desire, or delude ourselves to the point of insanity, always believing our big break is right around the corner. People were conscientious back in the day because conscientiousness meant a house, a car, and financial stability. It meant a community around yourself and providing for those you care about. But to me, it feels like being conscientious means getting exploited. It means having the fruits of your labor extracted from you and enjoyed by someone who is unworthy of it. It means burning away at myself to achieve something which is constantly being taken further and further out of my reach. And so I'm not conscientious. I only do the things I know are going to be worthwhile to me. I only work hard at the things which I value. I only put in effort when I know that effort is going to pay off. And then I choose to delude myself for one thing and one thing only. I choose to believe that one day I can be a great author, that my story will reach millions around the world, that one day I can see my story adapted, animated, retold, and enjoyed long after I pass away. And so that's when I choose to be conscientious. That's when I choose to open up a document and start writing.